All right, guys, this section is going to be on recruiting, building a business, basics, and, also selling while doing so. I have Stephen Yee on, who's an integrity partner. Stephen and I got to know each other really well when I lived in Las Vegas for a little while, like one of the 30 places I've lived since I started doing this business. But it was great because I got to learn a ton from Stephen, from things I didn't know anything about, as far as like how to market yourself, how to build a business, a lot of things you would learn. And from an MLM background, Stephen helped me a lot with. And there was a lot of things that really transformed our agency in a lot of different ways. Like, Steve, one thing we do now, and I don't think you directly taught me this, but it was from one thing, like basically a concept you taught me. Like I had all of my staff and agents write out all the frequently asked questions we get week to week in interviews. And
Mhm.
like it was like 50 questions, and I made a video, kind of like the Rogue IMO video, just answering all these questions. So we send it to everyone
Mhm.
before we go, hey, before interview, watch all these are all the questions you're going to have, because we don't want you to be interviewing us the whole time, right? So like
Right.
that's kind of like from what you do with the Rogue IMO video, like that's been a massive time saver for us. So a lot of things like that you've helped us with. I wanted you to kind of get on and go over, some of the things that FFL is doing from a, recruiting bonus standpoint. And then for people that are new to recruiting, building a business, like, what does it actually take? What does it entail? Like, what's the good, bad, and ugly, and how do you kind of get started in doing that? And I'm here for you to bounce
Absolutely.
stuff off of, dude, if you want to go back and forth or whatever, but I appreciate you getting on.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, I appreciate you. And Zach, I always tell people like, a lot of people, I learned this when I was in my first network marketing company when I was 20. They said, you're never as a manager, as a leader, you're never a prophet in your own backyard because your team just knows who you are all the time, right? They go, yeah, that's just Zach Trudowski. What do you mean? But what most of the agents on here need to know is like, no. Like that is the guy that has the highest issue paper writer in the entire company. He is also a multi-time Hall of Famer, creates more Hall of Fame producers than anybody. Just built a massive big business, integrity partner, a few other guys in the works too. And I say that because sometimes we take our leadership for granted. And you guys definitely shouldn't, because if I had a choice, like literally, if I had a choice to like start my entire career all over again, I'd be on your guys' team, just flat out. So, Zach, I appreciate you because literally I've shared this many times. I wouldn't have an integrity deal if it wasn't for you, because you taught me a lot about this business and structure and stuff too. But in terms of recruiting, guys, like what I wanted to kind of talk about too is this: like we're working with corporate, Zach and I, and some of the other guys. In terms of, we have a very nice producer bonus. Matter of fact, we have this producer cruise that's coming out that's going to be super awesome, right? That is going to reward those guys that sell at a high level. But the other thing too that you learn in network marketing and in major corporation is recruiting is always the lifeline of the business. And if you don't believe me, like I want you to understand this, like take a step back, right? Most people hear the word recruiting, they go, negative, don't like it, don't want it.
Mhm.
But if you look at it, like we have the United States, in my opinion, we have the best military in the world. Our Navy, Marines, Army, Coast Guard, Air Force, whatever, right? Like we have the best military. Well, you know what they do every day, Zach, in high school? They go to the high schools and they recruit.
Mhm.
And then they have recruiting offices set up, literally branches all over the country. Why? Because they recruit on a daily basis, although they are the best. You look at collegiate sports, football, basketball, Zach, you're a Division I athlete. Every single year, they have to recruit new talent. You look at McDonald's, they're always hiring. There's no surprise that they're the number one franchise in the world, right? So, like, what's the difference between the best Army, the best collegiate sports, the best corporations in America, and us? Nothing. We have to embrace recruiting if we want to have the best business, which we do have, right? And so a lot of people go like, well, I don't know what to say. I haven't really made any money yet. I don't know how to really share this opportunity. And they get really weird about it the moment they have to, like, money's involved. But here's the thing though, Zach, like Zach, if you watch a good movie and you go, hey, Easton, you should check out, Sounds of Freedom out now, right? That's recruiting.
Mhm.
You just shared an opportunity to go watch the movie. Now, if Easton watched a movie and goes, dude, that movie's great, you're like, awesome, whatever. If you go, hey, that movie sucked, you're like, I didn't think so. Like, whoop de do, right? You go, hey, that's a really good restaurant. Hey, you should go to, so and so restaurant in Vegas on the strip. That place is great. It's awesome. I go there. I like it. You're like, awesome, whatever. You go there. I go there. I don't like it. You're like, whatever. I don't own the place, right? We already do that. We already have the skill set to share good news with other people. You don't need a script. The difference is we're attached to the outcome when we shouldn't be.
Mhm.
Right. And so that's one of the first things I wanted to kind of share with a lot of us is like, you know, I looked at our business when I got started in Family First Life. One of my mentors taught me this. He said, you know, you want to take the Starbucks and McDonald's approach. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? He said, well, you ever notice like Starbucks and McDonald's, like you drive away from one Starbucks and McDonald's and you get closer to another?
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah. He's like, they're everywhere. He goes, their distribution model is something called POD, points of distributions. They're everywhere. Now, the mom and pop hamburger shop or the mom and pop coffee shop might taste better, might be better for you health wise, but they're less profitable compared to those two franchises. And he was like, so if you're in business, you need to be in distribution points everywhere. And I was like, got it. So he was like, don't just recruit in your backyard, your entire playground's the United States. You know, he was like, matter of fact, wouldn't it be cool to make money in a place that you've never been? I was like, yeah. He goes, you ever been in Kansas? I was like, don't want to. No. He goes, yeah, but it'd be kind of nice to get a check from there though. Right. And so I picked that up from him, Zach. And I was like, let's pick and choose places that we wanted to be in and build a business there. So, you know, for me, guys, I built and recruited a team because I didn't want to be selfish. And what I mean by that, Zach, is like a lot of us, we have friends and family that, you know, they don't wear their problems on their sleeves. You know, they don't broadcast bad news about their lives on social media for everybody to find out. But every single night, these guys go to night praying for something, praying to get away from their current financial situation, to get ahead of it. You know, the credit card bills, the loans, all this stuff is wearing and it's so stressful on them. And they're praying for an opportunity. Yet we hold the keys to that financial freedom, but we want to play God and go, yes for you, no for you, yes for you, no for you, and pick and choose where we want to share that opportunity with. And I think that's selfish. You know, and so like for me, I learned early on is like, let's just, you know, I'm not trying to make them believe in Jesus. I just want to share the good news and let them find out if he's real or not. Right. And so that's what we do here when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, dude. And with recruiting, it's, you know, you mentioned like you want to share with everyone, but that doesn't mean you have to work with everyone, right?
Yep.
Like there's a lot of people. I have one of my really good friends. One of my friends who was in my wedding has talked to me 3 or 4 times about working with us. And I'm like, dude, I love you, but no.
Right.
Playing a lot, like you don't like anything more than happy hour at 4:30 p.m. on Friday. You like to golf a couple times a week. Like this is not going to be a good fit for you. You like to go on vacation like 6, 7,
Right.
8, 10 times a year, and you're happy making what you make, you know, 50 grand. Like you're happy. Like, dude, you're going and I'm so messed up, it's gonna ruin our relationship because I'm gonna see how talented you could be. So it's okay to say no to people too, right? And that took me a while to learn that. And the other thing you mentioned that I was thinking through was, you know, you don't have to be emotionally invested in every single person's outcome. It's not like everyone's a grown adult. Your job is to show the opportunity to people, and then you never know who's going to take it and run with it or not. But dude, I've talked to the person that initially hired me in the business, and we have a great relationship. Like I'm very, very thankful. Dude, we probably talk once a year, like at convention once a year. I'm glad she brought me on, but dude, it wasn't her job to make me do what I did or didn't do.
Yep.
But I'm really thankful she brought me on, right? I'm really thankful she posted that ZipRecruiter ad that I happened to fill out one day. And so I think to your point, yeah, sharing it with everyone is super important. Now, what are some things you do to make it, you know, palatable or to make it easy to where you're not, you know, spending 45 minutes or an hour on the phone with every single person, like pitching them and explaining our business? Because I think what everyone does when they're new to recruiting, if they've never recruited anyone before, and this is maybe not everyone, what I did as a new person recruiting was I'd get on the phone with you and I'd go, Steven, I found this thing. It's the best business in the entire world. You know, it's sunshine and rainbows. Everyone's a multimillionaire. Like it's awesome, you know? and there's no bad days, only good days. Cause I would be excited because I was in the field and I wrote 2 apps and I was like, man, I'm going to get paid tomorrow. This is great. But that's not the reality. There's good days, there's bad days, and it's a simple business, low barrier of entry, but it's a lot of hard work, right? So
Absolutely.
what do you do to, you know, make sure that when you have someone that you want to share the business with, like, you know, what do you send them? And then how do you structure the interview when you're talking to them to make sure that you're not overselling it? Because you cannot set anyone up for failure any more extremely than just telling them only the good things and not about the bad things in our business, right?
Right. Well, great question. I learned when I was in network marketing that if your mouth is moving, it should be pointing at something else. And what that means is we use tools. That's the reason why the agency overview, the Rogue IMO, was created. I didn't create it because I was so highly fond of myself. Matter of fact, I listened to it and I go, dude, that's what I sound like. But I said that because, I was doing 10, 12 interviews a day and I felt myself repeating myself, kind of like what we were talking about. And so I was like, dude, if I can make a video as close to perfect as I can just point people to it or answer a majority of the questions and I'll answer whatever's left, right? So when a brand new agent gets started, like we always, when you're building a team, you got to think of the lowest common denominator, which is a brand new agent. A brand new agent is, we have 7 filters of duplication. I'm just going to go through the first 3, which is really easy. Can I do what Zach did to me? Do I want to do what Zach did to me? And I'm willing to do what Zach did to me to my friends, family, and neighbors. That's what they're thinking about, right? So if Zach comes to me and goes, hey, Steve, and he does the entire interview. He goes, Steve, Family First Life was started in December 2013 by this guy named Sean Mike, and he was in the field and blah, 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 blah. They're going to be like, cool. Like, Zach's really good, and I might want to join, but I can't do what he just did. Nor do I have time to do it, and nor do I want to do that to my friends, family, and neighbors. But if Zach goes, hey, Steve, I just got started in this business. Here's like a 17-minute video or a 5-minute video of Sean Mike going over what this company is. Let me know what you think. And you shoot them a video. Here's the nice part. Now they get to make an educated decision, not based on Zach, but they get to make an educated decision based on the information they receive from the video that they watch, which is way better than, because what happens is like some of us grew up in our hometowns. Like they don't see me as Stephen Yu, the business owner. They see me as Stephen Yu, the guy that was a class clown in school, messed around a lot, right? So they don't have that respect. But if they judge the business opportunity for itself, they might go, hey, Steve's nuts. But if what this guy on the video said is somewhat real, I'm in, right? And so we want people to judge the video for the, or the opportunity, I should say, for themselves. And so right now we're working on something like that with Integrity, where Sean just created a video that explains Family First Life compliantly. And so like for me, I'm sharing that opportunity with them, kind of like the movie, kind of like a good haircut, a good barber, a good restaurant, whatever it is. I'm just going, hey man, this is what check this out. Let me know what you think. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. I really don't care. If you don't like it, I won't bring it up ever again. Right. And so that's what I'm doing. Now, after they watch and then they go, I'm in, or I have questions or whatever it may be, this is where the fun begins. And I'll start by saying this. What I'm going to do, or what I'm going to share with you right now, some of y'all might be taken back by it. And it's okay, because I was too when I got started. But what I've realized was if I didn't set proper expectations, people would quit and then would blame it on me. Whatever. That was fine. But like roll-up debt, I didn't want to deal with that either. And so if I can prevent that, I'm in. One of the statistics I can give you, because I did ask, out of the Family First Life Integrity partners, I have the least amount of potential debt compared to any other partner. I take pride in that because of what I'm going to share with you, right? So Zach, this is what I say to people. So like, let's say, you're a buddy of mine from college. I share the opportunity with you. You say, hey man, I'm in, I have some questions, whatever it may be. I go, hey Zach, this is what's going to happen. All right. You're going to buy some leads. You're going to call some people and they're going to tell you to F off or go to hell. How are you going to respond to that? And he's gonna be like, dude, that's gonna suck. I don't know if I can do that. Hey, Zach, this ain't for you then. Because guess what? When we do dial days, we do that every day. We get that every day, right? And then I'm gonna be like, and then Zach, what happens is like some of the people that answer, they're gonna set an appointment with you. So whether you're doing face-to-face or virtual, it doesn't matter. I'm like, they're gonna answer, right, and set an appointment with you. And then you're gonna drive to their house or call them on the phone, and they're not gonna be there. That's gonna piss you off. How are you gonna respond to that? And they're going to say, oh man, that really sucks. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. Or if they go, whatever, it doesn't bother me. Right. Because we get no-showed every week. If you're a producer, we get no-showed. It's part of our business. And then I go, hey man, then the people that let you in the home or they answer the phone, they're going to let you sell an insurance policy to them. But like 2 weeks later, 2 months later, they're going to call the carrier and cancel. How do you feel about that? And they're like, I don't know, man. And I go, dude, this ain't for you. Or if they go, yeah, that's fine. And I go, because here's the reason why 30% of your business will fall off. But if you're okay with these 3 things, you can make 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever, they want to make, whatever the goal that they set themselves for. Right. So I break that down really, really early, because the last thing I want, Zach, is for someone to buy leads and they go, Steve, I'm getting cussed out. I'm like, yeah, dude, I told you you were. I'm not trying to pull one on you. I told you when I spoke to you that someone's going to say, I didn't fill that form out. I already got it taken care of. I'm not interested. Yeah, I already told you that. Like, keep going. right? I don't want to be able to have that new agent come to me and be like, dude, some guy said this. And I'm like, they did? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that. I want to be as transparent as possible from the very beginning. And so when you do it that way, what I feel is you recruit less people, but you recruit more quality people because now they know what they're getting into, right? Trey always says, I want the people to know the good, bad, and the ugly and still want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've done in the last few months in our group that's been helping tremendously because the people we bring on, they write. It's because we're not just trying to throw them against the wall and see if they stick anymore. You know, we're trying to get some people to actually stay here and want to be here. So those are some of the filter questions that I ask, very direct and upfront, and just to make sure that they know. You know, one of the other things that I ask Zach, I go, hey man, what do you currently do for it? Oh, I'm a medical assistant. I don't know. Right. Cool. What do you work? How many hours do you a week do you work? 40. Okay. What do you make a month? 4,000. Awesome. What are you trying to make here? 20 grand. Okay. How many hours do you have a week to put into this business to allow you to make 20 grand a month? 15. Hey, bro, I'm really good at math because I'm Asian, but like you work 40 hours to make 4 grand. You want to spend 15 hours to make 20. Like the math don't make sense, dude. And then I have to bring them back down to earth on that. And I'm like, would you agree with me? You have to work at least 40, 50 hours to make 20 grand if you only made 4 with working the same hours. Right. And so like I like setting really, really, really big expectations with agents right off the bat so that they don't come in here, think they can work 2 hours and then next Tuesday they're a millionaire. Right. Like that's not gonna work.
Well, dude, that's the thing that's always brought me back to reality, right? Is like it's easy to get jaded a little bit in this business where you're like, oh, I work this much, I make this much, and then like to forget what it's like in the real world. But like I still am seeing it, like as it is with Deborah's finishing up residency right now. Like, dude, so we this training's evolved. Like they're talking about this has evolved, over the years as she's gone through school. But she did the 4 years of undergrad, right? Then she did 2 years of actual medical school, 2 years of rotations. No money in that. Like actually exactly negative $200,000. I know because I paid it, right? It was negative. We paid it, we're a fan, she's amazing, but like, we paid that money. Rotations is watching people for 2 years, like shadowing for 2 years, making no money. Now she's a doctor, but she's a resident and makes like 65 grand a year, right?
No way.
3 more years. And then she gets to be a doctor and will make 350, 400, 500. And she's not doing it for the money only.
Right.
But it's, I would, people watching this, like, if you can, most people that do insurance, the reason that there's some people like Steven or I that have done pretty well, I think, relatively compared to the rest of the industry, is because most people are pretty lazy and like set pretty low standards in the industry. But if you can treat it like Steven's mom was an amazing role model. She's a business person, right? My dad was a doctor, worked hard, and so I think we got to see like what it really takes in the real world to make money and didn't lose that. And you treated it the way your mom, treated her business. I treated this like I was going to medical school. Like if you can treat this business like a profession from selling, building, or whatever you want to make out of it, then you'll be so far ahead of everyone else because most people just, kind of go in and do the bare minimum and work 30, 40, 50. But if you can really just be like, how would I treat this if I was, if I spent $200,000 to start this business, how would I treat it?
Right.
Like, it would be so different. And all the things you're saying, like if I spent $200,000 to start my agency, and some guy was like, oh yeah, man, I may work a little bit part-time in between, driving Uber Eats and like, I don't know if I want to get told no. And I'm like, oh yeah, like you should work. I would be like, dude, I don't have time for this. Let's move on to the next person. And so I think if everyone could just remember, like if you treat it like a professional, you get paid like one. But if you treat it like it's driving Uber Eats, you're going to get paid like it's driving Uber Eats and you're going to quit in a couple months,
See, that's the double-edged sword. The double-edged sword is the barrier to entry is so low because it's what a license, fingerprints, and insurance. Like, get out of here, right?
Class,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But think about this. Like, so my mom, you're talking about that story. My mom, when she met my stepdad in 2002, they created their own shoe store. Retail shoe store. It was 300 grand. They didn't have no 300 grand. We lived in an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, all of us. And so she borrowed it from her friends and family, bank, lines of credit cards, anything she could to get this business off the ground, right? Dude, she worked 14, 16 hours a day. And you know what's crazy? As her son, that was like normal.
Yeah.
Because yeah, she put all this money in. Why wouldn't she work? Because she lost all that. That would suck. A year later, we bought our first home. We moved into another zip code, went to a nicer school. And then she went from one store to three stores, and then eventually went into wholesaling, right? But like I had a chance to watch that. And so like working was like normal.
Yeah.
Like that's why like when I talk to agents all the time, I'm like, dude, like I guess we get this from Sean. He's like, you work 40 hours a week, congratulations, you and everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
And that's why they make 40,000 a year. I don't want to make 40,000 a year. I want to make 40,000 a month, 40,000 every 2 weeks, 40,000 a week.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I can't make that doing the same thing everybody else does. And that's why like I made a post yesterday. I was like, dude, I'm not competing against you or the next person, whatever. I'm competing against poverty.
Yeah.
I've been broke and I've been rich, and I choose to be rich with problems than broke with problems all day, every single day of the week. You know what I mean? And I think that has to do with work ethic. And like you said, Zach, the thing is like, I think the thing about you and I is we're just hard-headed and we won't quit, and we'll figure this thing out. And we have that intestinal fortitude. I think that's a good word that we use in sports. Like we have the intestinal fortitude that even when stuff hits the fan, we're still going to push through it while everybody's going to complain about it. Like I'm good. Like my life now, that's a lot more stressful. It's still better than it was 5 years ago when I didn't have any of those things. Like I'm taking that trade every day of the week, and so that's what we lose perspective of sometimes.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I read a book that I read 2 years ago, called the Obstacle is the Way. I read it again recently, twice. Such a good book, simple concept. Like basically the entire book premise is in the title, but it just talks about like whenever something pops up in life, if you want to complain about it, and it's all very stoic mentality, but if you want to complain about it or feel sorry for yourself that something happened, then you don't gain anything from that experience. But if something is in your way and you figure out, okay, how do I attack the situation? Like, how do I make the obstacle become the way through and learn how to overcome that? And you can change that mentality in this business and go, okay, like I had this chargeback, how do I prevent that? I had this roll up, how do I prevent that? I suck at recruiting, how do I get better? And you can just think of every obstacle you have as like, how do I, figure out how to overcome this and get better instead of quitting when it gets in your way. That's how you become in the top 1%, because most people will have something come up and they'll go, I'm good, I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
Like I'm all good on that. I'm going to go ahead and quit. And we could go back and forth on this all day long, but what I would tell everyone is, yes, it sucks. I think there's a big movement now, it seems like, where it's like, oh, grind culture is stupid. No, it's not stupid. Like grinding and getting good at something is necessary if you don't have equity in the beginning.
Yes.
Like you're going to have to bootstrap it. But what I would tell people is you're going to bootstrap it and you're going to spend a lot of time to make good money, but a lot of time to make good money early on. And then your skill set will get better and you'll have more money. So then you'll be able to spend less time and make exponentially more money. But most people quit in the no money and a lot of time phase. And you just got to work through that phase. And again, most people won't make it through that phase, or they'll just do a little bit forever. If you can sprint through that phase, then you'll get to have the fun part, which is, less time and exponentially more money. Right.
Right.
So I didn't plan on going all this with you, but I appreciate it. While we're on, dude, because we're already over where I budgeted for, but we could probably talk for 5 hours and I think it would be helpful. You're also a multi-time Hall of Fame producer, and you've been doing some telesales just to lead your new base shop. So what are a couple, tips you have for people or things you've seen, as you've transitioned to telesales, like some tips you can give agents for how to still, run the same schedule, or even just a couple, because someone like myself who's very uncreative, I have no left side of my brain, right? Like what are some word tracks you found super useful for closing like final expense over the phone?
So one of the things that I'll say, Zach, is that's why I wanted to do it, right? Because I did everything face to face, just like we did. And I remember this agent called me, brand new agent, and we got Aetna's contract after I got out the field. And this guy called me and they said, "Hey man, I'm in this part of the application. What do I do?" I go, "I don't know. I've never written Aetna." And then when I hung up, I wanted to like throw up in my mouth, because I was like, "That's such a great answer for a brand new agent. Like, come on, Steve, right?" And so I was like, you know what? For a full year, everybody that wanted to join our team that did virtual sales, I was like, go watch this video, go watch this person's video, and I'm like, but is it even real? Is it even good? You know what I mean? Like, because I couldn't validate it because I didn't do it. And so at the beginning of the year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my wife do it. That'd be a perfect training experience because she has zero background in life insurance. And she can be case study number one, right? So So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it with her. And what I realized was, although all these people said these things, I was like, I found out a lot of them weren't true. That was the big thing for me. Um, what I've realized too, and I've kind of said this heavily in our group, confidence trumps credibility every day of the week. It just does, especially on the phone. Like everybody's always working for the correct words to say and this and that, and the other, but it's one of those situations is like, it's not what you say, but how you say it. Dude, like every phone sale I've done, I've never sent them my driver's license, state license, or anything. I just, I'm like, nope, this is Steve. We have a phone call for this time. We're doing this and this. And like, they're like, oh yeah, we're in. Like they just, you know what I mean? But it's like, but it's because of all the field training that I've had that I'm like, I'm so confident in the sales process. I'm like, this is what we're just going to do. And so like what I've come to realize, Zach, I kind of did this for our team. I feel like the sales process is broken down into 8 pieces. And everybody, if you take every Hall of Fame producer in our company and you broke down their presentation, everybody would sound completely different, but these 8 things would be in there. Okay. The first thing is who we are and why we're there. Okay, hey, this is Steven getting back to you about the form you sent back in for the mortgage protection, right? Here's the form you filled out, whatever it is. That's part 1. Part 2 is setting the table. Hey, my job is to ask you a few questions regarding your health and finance. I work with 30 different companies. My job is to send it to them. They're going to give you the best rates. I'm going to make them compete for your business. We'll submit an application. You can either apply or decline, right? Whatever it may be. That's part 2. Part 3 is me doing the financial inventory and getting the why, the establishing the need out of them, right? Part 4 is basically me, underwriting and taking the questions to my manager, right? Part 5 is me pitching the options, right? And then 6 is me. 6 was quoting, 7 was pitching, and then after that, I'm going to basically do the e-app and then close the appointment. Mm-hmm. Dude, I don't care what anybody says. You do those 8 things. We might do them in a different order. We might say different things, but we do those 8 things. And so, like, what I've tried to get brand new agents to understand, I'm like, I just need you to do these 8 things. I don't care how you do them, what you say in them, right? Preferably, I want you to say nothing illegal, but like say these, like do these 8 things, and you'll be okay. And that's what we've been teaching, man. It's we've been doing a lot of release presentations, Zach, and it's been really helpful because now we can actually see how good or bad someone really is before they go in our field. But that's what we've been doing. Some people love one call closes. Some people love running a traditional schedule. My answer is it's not based on what you want to do. It's based on the client because it's their decision. If I called you, Zach, and you're like, hey, man, I'm about to board a flight, I can't push you to do a presentation right there. It's not going to work, right? But if you go, hey, man, yeah, Deb and I are here right now. We're good. Cool. We'll do it right now. You know what I mean? So Dom says something that was really, really good to me. He said, I can't imagine waking up every day with no appointments going, I pray I call these leads and get a few presentations today. And I was like, that's actually really good. He goes, I'd rather spend all day Monday dialing to set appointments for Tuesday, Wednesday, and just run them over Zoom or on the phone, kind of like we did face to face. And I'm like, yeah, you wake up differently, so we've embraced a little bit of both. I don't pick and choose or make them do one way or the other. I just think it's based on what the client does.
Yeah. Well, that's to your point too. It's like, does in-home work? Yes. Does telesales work? Yeah. Does Zoom sales work? Yes. Does writing all with America work? Yeah. Does writing all with Mutual? It all works. And the best thing that I've learned from doing this is just pick one of them that you're going to do and get really freaking good at it. And then you can add other things into it. Right.
Yep.
And think of it like this, like if you're trying to figure out how to sell, final expense term, and this is for brand new agents, final expense term, annuities, IULs, health, and wealth, and everything you could possibly do with 30 different carriers, then you're going to get smoked by the person that goes, hey, I'm going to get really good at selling. We always use Americo. So I'm going to get really good at selling prosperity, final expense over the phone, only off of this one lead type. That person's going to smoke you because they're focused on one thing all day long. Right. And what I always did is I focused on one thing. Like for me in the beginning, it was, I sold final expense with Americo and AIG. And did I lose some money? Maybe, but I was so good at the couple of things I was good at that I've made a lot more long-term, right? And so I think to your point, like just pick one thing that you're going to get really good at, and then you can add other things later once you have your cash machine on, right? But just get really good at one thing and don't worry about being a master of everything. Just be really good in one niche, and then we'll get good at everything over time. So Dude, I appreciate it. We'll have to do this again and have you on for longer, but as always, thank you for your knowledge and wisdom, and I appreciate you pouring into our team today, dude.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.